Beautiful souls, we self-sabotage a lot, and I want to talk about that because today that changes, okay? A lot of the times we self-sabotage out of fear of what people think about us, showing up in our authenticity, showing up with our gifts, our purpose, our mission, tapping into our spiritual beings, all of that. And other people around us, if you're not around people that are at that stage in their life, they won't get it, okay? And that's what humans do. Humans will be negative around things or try and project things that they want to make themselves feel more comfortable. So we make ourselves small around people because we don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. And then you might find that people are different in their around like-minded souls, but then they go back to being different around family or friends or other people that don't get it. So I've done this and I don't want to do this anymore, okay? And I will show up in ways in the spiritual community and everything, but then it's not really being truthful to myself if around certain people, if I'm frightened to say something to make them feel uncomfortable, or out of fear myself for what they'll say back to me. And we do this a lot. So I'll give you an example. I've been massively triggered, my inner child wound. When I was young, I was very connected to my spiritual self and the spiritual world, and I could see a lot of things and energies and spirits and everything, and so I felt really different. I felt like I was living between two worlds. So growing up in my early years at school, I obviously came across a bit different, right? And so I did get called weird and nuts and different things at different times, and that really hurt my feelings because I was a very introverted empath, and I just wanted to express who I was, but I'm like, these people don't get me, so I have to put masks on to fit in, and that's where it all started to go wrong for me, because that's what I did. But there was a time where I was really starting to step into my power on my spiritual path, and I knew, I was just so happy that I was taking that path. And then various people in my life would say things and do things again that would trigger that wound in me, and some I didn't care about and others I did. And I'll give you an example. There was one particular one with my divine masculine, and we had shared so many physical moments together for years, and it was years on. He called me nuts, okay, in an email, and he was with someone else at the time, and he called me nuts and said that he thought I was a nut, and that hurt me so much because I'm like, hang on dude, you got me back then, like you got me, and now you're saying I'm nuts, and that triggered that wound, which I know our divine masculines and our divine feminines, whoever we're with, are meant to trigger those wounds to heal. But I suddenly squashed myself again, and I still went ahead and put out my book and published that, and I still did other things, my course and all sorts of things, but behind the scenes my energy was, am I really nuts? Am I, I allowed other people to, through their fears, through whatever reasons they were projecting that onto me and their thoughts, and even if they thought that, too bad, right? This is the part of us stepping into our power and being who we are, regardless of what anyone says about us, because they're just coming from their wounds, from their fears, right? Whatever's going on in their life. So this is the part of really staying, when we say we've got to stay authentic and true to ourselves, it is so important to do that by not giving a fuck what people say. And today I kind of woke up and I'm like, fuck this, right? I didn't even remember that it happened, in the sense that I remembered it happened, but I didn't realize it was still affecting me, that and other things. And I'm like, because we get to a point where we go, well, if the people closest to us don't even see our beautiful spirit and our power and our psychic abilities and whatever, and they're still saying, you're nuts, or you twit, or I don't believe in you, or whatever, we start to question ourselves. But that is them doing us a favor, because what's still in us that makes us not believe in ourselves, right? And believe in that power that we have. Okay, and here I was going like, dude, to my divine masculine, like we sat in a beautiful hotel room when we went away one weekend, and I talked to him about a past life we had. At the time, I was doing beautiful spiritual development classes. I had a spiritual coach, and she had read this whole beautiful past life of ours, and I was telling him about our past life, and at the time, he was so open to hearing it all, and we had many spiritual conversations, okay, and he was open to listening to it all, and in fact, he had tears come down his eyes, coming out of his eyes, down his face, and I said to him when I was talking about it, I said, what's wrong? And he said, I don't know. He said, obviously his soul was feeling everything I was saying and relaying about the reading of our past life together, because he said, I don't know why I'm crying, but tears are just coming out of my eyes, and he could feel it. And then he said to me, I want to understand more about, I know there's Archangel Michael, I want to understand more about, all of it. And we had these conversations, and so when years and years and years later, when he said that to me, I was really shocked, and I'm like, so I wanted to share that story because you're the closest you are with your divine partner, and even when they don't believe in you, they can really damage us in a way that we then have to look at ourselves. But in essence, they're just doing it, as we know, to trigger what we have in ourselves that is still feeling unworthy. Okay, what part of ourselves are not stepping up to our true divine feminine or divine masculine, if whatever energy in ourselves, to be the role that we came to be on our divine path and mission that we signed up for. So there is going to be people, whether it's friends, family, whether it's your divine partner, people will come into your life, okay, to try and you'll say you're self-sabotaging because they're trying to sabotage, but what they're really doing, and they're doing it from their own, they don't know they're doing it to help you, they're doing it from their own fears and limiting beliefs, but what they're really doing is pushing you to stand in your power and say, no, you know what, I'm not going to people please for you, I'm not going to make you feel comfortable being around me, I'm going to fucking step into who I am. Right? As a divine, spiritual, beautiful being, feminine, masculine, whatever, I am stepping into that. So the lesson today is, and do this with me, from today onwards and today forth, no matter who around you, in your family or your friends, your divine partner, who you think might question you or not believe in you, right? If that triggers you, go deep within yourself. I had to realize that my inner child wound was being triggered from these kids at school saying to me, this, that, and the other, and me being really hurt by that. So I had to heal that, because it was just carrying forth to my adult world, where adults around me that I cared for were kind of looking at me and going, and that happens, that energy, right? We are magnetic beings, divine feminine, so that energy is what you attract. So if I'm not feeling 100% worthy of the work I'm putting out there and what I'm saying, well then potential clients and people, they're not going to trust me either. Okay? And I look back on the times in my life where my business was thriving, and it was when I was fully in my power. Right? And then I let life get in the way and other people say things, and then my business went down the tubes. Okay, so it's so important. Please take this message, re-listen to it again if you have to, show a friend, share it, because this is where we need to step into our power. Okay, I think I'm going to lose my phone soon, but this is where we need to step into our power. And this is not to blame, shame, or diss anybody. Right? I'm fully, like at the time when my divine masculine said that to me, I was so mortified. But now I look back and go, he was meant to say that, because I was meant to be triggered to heal that childhood wound, to step more into my fucking power. And that's what it's about. You've got to love yourself fully, but also fully feel worthy of yourself and know the power that you hold inside. Okay? So take that on today and start from today. And tell me how you're going to do that today. I love you guys. Take care. Till next time.